Sailors have populated the oceans of the earth for a very, very long time, covering generations, sailing on different ships, each with its own purpose. These ships are mainly categorized into the naval ships and the merchant navy ships. In today's video, we break down the merchant navy. We have two generations in the same industry with 57 years of experience, and we're going to tell you everything you need to know before you join this industry. Let's get into it. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. In my last vlog, I'd introduced you to my father, who is also a master mariner, and I'd promised you guys an interview with him. Today's video is extremely special because we have two generations within the same industry and telling you about the pros and cons in 2021. Do not join the merchant navy before you see this video because it's going to be an extremely informative video. This is my dad. He's been at sea for the last 47 years and I've been at sea for almost 10 years now. As I told you, he's a master and I'm a second mate. A lot of you seafarers who follow my channel have asked me a lot of questions about whether the merchant navy is a good industry to join. So today's video is two generations, one industry. We're breaking it down. Let's get into it. Dad, can you introduce yourself?
Good day. I am Captain Hari Mohan Chawla. I'm sitting here with my son who's trying to create this video so that people have some information before they join the sea. I personally joined shipping way back in 1974. I still remember the date as 30th of January 1974, and I worked with India Steamships. In those days we did 3 years as cadets, and in those days we had only one institution giving this training, which was Dufferin and Rajendra.
By the way, for all you guys who don't know, Rajendra eventually changed to Chanakya, and that's what it is today. It's the same system that continued down.
Yes, Rajendra was a floating ship, whereas Chanakya is a land-based institution.
And that's right. So you guys already learned about the origins of the merchant navy, how things were back in 1970s and how they are right now in 2021. Dad, what kind of ships do you sail on?
Well, I started off with general cargo ships. And then I did different types of ships, including heavy lift carriers, general cargo again, and break bulk, and log carriers, container, but broadly and mainly I've been doing now bulk carriers. Size which has varied from 7,000 tons to 2 lakh tonners.
You did containers? Okay, I had no idea. It's because of you guys that I actually learned that about my dad. Now that you've already learned about who my dad is and what his experience has been, you guys already know about me. I'm a tanker man, so all those ships that he named, I have never set foot on them professionally. I have sailed on dry cargo ships with my father. Yes, family carriage is a thing that's possible in the merchant navy. So I have sailed with dad as a passenger on the dry cargo ships, but I've never really worked on them. So our experience, while it adds up to quite a bit, which is a total of about 57 years together, our experiences are extremely different as well. So the shipping industry has evolved. I've seen a small part of the changes that have taken place in this industry. My dad's seen practically every change possible. So I want to ask you, Dad, you've seen a lot of changes in the industry. You've practically seen it go from an industry that was not heard about to a majority of the populations worldwide to something that's extremely commercial today. What do you think about where the industry is going to lead in the next 10 years or 20 years? And what would your message be to future seafarers?
Well, as you mentioned, shipping has gone sea of change over the years. When we started, we used celestial bodies to navigate, to find our position wherever we were in the world, whichever ocean we were in. And having a radar was a luxury in those days.
Yeah.
Today, I don't think anybody will navigate without radar. In fact, the rules and regulations don't even permit you to sail out if your radar is not functional. When we arrived ports, we used signal flags to signal it to the shore stations that our ship's name is so-and-so, and we communicated that way. Initially, the stress was on the construction of the ship. Then the next step was they started working on technical aspects of the shipping. The equipment was really being brought up. It advanced to such a stage today, everything do by pressing few buttons. And now the stress is more and more on training. In our days, also the paperwork was limited, and since the advent of ISM system, all these things being brought in today, more stress is on rules, regulations.
You guys heard that? It's very true. I have to completely agree with my dad. There are a lot of changes that have taken place in the industry. Like he mentioned, even thinking about giving signal flags when you're entering a port is something that would trouble young officers like us nowadays, because this is something we don't normally do. We have electronic systems. Also right about the training aspect. Take your training very seriously, because the industry is not friendly to human error anymore. A majority of the incidents that have taken place that have been catastrophic in the last last 10-20 years. Human errors played a very major part in what happened. So yeah, training is extremely important. You should know your equipments.
As we were talking about changes which have taken place over the years, this industry has really evolved. When I joined, most of the jobs were carried out manually. Today, there's a lot of automation, whether it's engines or working on deck, wherever you're working. When I joined, we were 56 people on board.
That's a lot.
Yes.
I've never seen so many people on a ship.
And as the ships got advanced technically, a lot of automation came in. And today we are down to average 18 persons on board, handling bigger and much bigger ships. Also, over the years, communication systems have changed. In those days, we had wireless telegraphy. So the communication was not very regular, which like today, with the younger generation, you are using iPhones, we are using satellite communication. Systems have come where you are available on one phone call 24 hours a day. You can communicate with your families today anytime you want with Wi-Fi systems available on board. In those days, we used to wait for a letter from family, which we got maybe sometimes after a month or sometimes after 3 months. All that stuff has changed today.
You've heard a lot about the changes in the industry, and they are pretty drastic. So let's get on to the next segment of this interview. Okay, future seafarers. A couple of you asked me this question about what mindset you should have when you join sea. I think it's very important to know what mindset you should have from a senior's perspective, because at the end of the day, it's the captain or the chief engineer who you're going to be reporting to. So Dad, as a veteran out at sea, a lot of the viewers, a lot of the young seafarers want to know that when they're joining their first ship, basically as an engine cadet or a deck cadet, it's your first time on board, you're a trainee. What mindset should you have while joining when you step onto the gangway of that vessel?
Today, before you join, you've been imparted with some kind of pre-sea training where you're told a ship looks like, how the ships function, brought up to a level where when you step on board, you are aware of a lot of things. You come on board with a very open mind. Also, a lot will matter on what kind of ship you are placed on. Of course, in the initial phase, your stress should be mainly on learning, and you should not hesitate to put your hand into anything which you are told to do. That's the only way to learn. Everything should be starting with a question because you want to learn.
As a junior, as a cadet, as a first timer, even as a trainee rating, don't say no to any job unless you think it's unsafe. Learn the parameters of safety. That's basically extremely important. A lot of things that you will do out at sea with respect to work may be extremely different to what you would do in your day-to-day life at home, and all you got to do is keep an open mind. You're there to work, you're there to learn. Since we all are extremely tech savvy, there are a lot of ways for you to understand what work has been given to you, what jobs you're going to be made to do. There's a lot of computer-based training that's available on board ships. Most companies nowadays also have systems where you can access those training libraries prior joining a ship while you're on land. Also, when you're on board, participate in your drills very seriously. There's a lot you're going to get to learn.
Everyone is talking about safety. Any work done on the ship, a lot of attention should be paid to this. And also, today you have, like Nitin just mentioned, that we have computer-based training. We can prepare ourselves before carrying out any work. Today, you will help your shipmates by saving their life, maybe also guiding them at times, because eventually you're going to be an officer.
That's it for this part of the video with respect to what mindset you should have. I hope this actually helped you guys. Now, the next segment of this interview is going to basically include listing out pros and cons, basis how far the industry has come. Let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the pros first, because I don't want people to run away from the industry just yet. So Dad, you want to take the first one?
Okay, I mean, when we come out in this cruel world, what we need is to start earning. This is one of the professions where you can expect instant rewards. You finish your pre-sea training, you join as a trainee, you get paid decent even during that period. But once you are qualified to be an officer, you start at a very handsome salary. You can start your life with $3,000 a month. Depending on the kind of ship, varies, it can be more. Whereas in the other professions, you don't get to see that. As you rise in your ranks, you qualify for higher ranks, you get on to serving as second officers, chief officers, masters. You can touch even up to $15,000. Always depends on the type of ship you serve on. And also it depends on your requirements as to what kind of ship you would like to work on.
This job does give you a pretty decent pay when you start out, and it's very true. Now, another major pro that I can think about is flexibility of time. Time flexibility is not only a pro, it's also a con, because technically speaking, when you're out at sea, you do not get Sundays off. Time, what I'm talking about is with respect to your time on land. Basically comes down to your personal choice and your personal perspective. For example, if you look at an airline pilot, they're out about at least 3 days a week, and if you calculate that, or even if they're out 2 days in a week, they're out for almost 4 to 5 months in a year, traveling, flying. And in the merchant navy, the only difference is that you do that at a stretch. With respect to airline pilots, you do that with gaps where you do come back home. So it comes down to perspective. When you do come back on land, you have close to 4 months to 5 months, basis your choice, basis your company, and basis the rotation that you're doing, where you have absolute free time to travel, to spend time time with your family, to pick up a hobby, maybe start a side business. So it is a pro and a con, and it just comes down to personal preference. But for me, it's definitely a pro, because when I'm home, I can do things like this, create amazing content for you amazing people. It's something that you should keep in mind.
And regarding this profession, once you have attained your highest rank, and in case you feel like taking up other opportunities, which are plenty once you come ashore, you can be a marine pilot, take up chartering brokerage, qualify further. In fact, today, most of the companies, management companies or technical managers, etc., all ex-mariners who have sailed as masters and chief engineers at sea. So there are a lot of opportunities in offer after serving few years at sea, and so you can make avail of that. There are a lot of avenues available to you once you come ashore.
So the next pro, according to me, is basis travel. So something that I looked at as a child, because I saw my dad leaving the house every few months and going to different countries. And as a child, I did sail with my dad. I was privileged to be able to do that. So I did get to see a lot of life at sea. I did get to see a lot of countries at a very early age. Of course, this is very different now, but there is a certain amount of travel aspect involved in this. There are certain sites that you will be able to see out at sea, which you can never see on land. And on certain kinds of ships, depending on the rotation, depending upon the amount of time you have in port, there is an opportunity where those ships go deep into the cities in various countries, and you do get a chance to go out, even if it's for only 3 or 4 hours, and absorb a little bit of foreign culture. It's something extremely rewarding. This is definitely something that you should think about. You do technically get paid to travel. And now for the last and final pro that we have for you guys today. Dad, take it away.
Well, when it comes to working at sea, it is a pretty straightforward job. And also, as you work, you learn. Also, you are taught what to do in your next rank. And of course, if you don't know anything, there are seniors to guide you all the time.
Definitely always ask your seniors. It's pretty much their job to teach you. It's a very experienced based job. Yeah, that's basically that. But now we're going to get into the slightly more controversial part of this video, which is basically listing out the cons of the industry. Keep in mind, no industry is perfect. No job is perfect. Okay, so the first con from my end would be very specific. I work on chemical tanker ships. These ships are extremely hectic. It's very true. The industry has evolved to a point where they've started employing extra officers, chemical tankers that do short runs, and we are very grateful for that, and we hope that this continues. But there are still times, even with your extra officers, where operations become so hectic. The voyages are extremely short. International maritime hubs such as Singapore, Rotterdam, any of these massive ports where you have store, fuel, supplies, inspections, cargo operations, you have a bunch of stuff happening at one time. So a lot of times you will end up working extremely long working hours. While our companies do their best and our seniors do their best to compensate us with our rest hours in the near future, there are certain times where you do end up working very heavy hours. So yes, long working hours, while it's gotten better than what it used to be, is still a thing, and it does happen. Hopefully this should change in the near future.
We need to be prepared mentally, and we have to have the right mindset to be away from our homes and our families, near and dear ones.
Yeah.
When we started our career, spending 1 year at sea was nothing much to talk about. It was a norm. Things have changed, like I said. Today, every time you spend at sea is 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Depending on your rank again. As you grow senior, your contracts become shorter.
Yeah.
And you have to have the right mindset where you say, okay, I am there so many months, and I am not going to be there when somebody needs me ashore or at home. Because you could be in the middle of the ocean where you're doing 40-50 days sail, and you're at sea for 50 days.
Yeah, I don't think I need to add anything to this con. Even if you have an emergency back home, you have to get off the ship at the next port, which is not at sea. So the next con that I would like to talk to you about is with respect to current times. We, as you guys already know, we have a pandemic in progress, and it's been on for the last year now. And of course, it's affected every job in the world. What you need to know is during the pandemic, while most other industries had shut down, a lot of offices shifted to working from home. I also have to acknowledge that a lot of people lost their jobs, and it was also extremely disheartening. People out at sea had a different kind of difficulty where a lot of seafarers got stuck at sea indefinitely, which means they could not come back to their families for a very long period of time. Because a lot of countries shut down, a lot of seafarers could not get off, even though the companies wanted them to get off and come back home. And seafarers on land, I know people who could not join a ship for over a year. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is when things like a pandemic happen, mariners and seafarers are the last people to get any help, and that's basically just an occupational hazard because we're out at sea. It does become a slight inconvenience. Of course, the veterans in our industry are trying their best. We all have signed off. I am due to join back very soon. So while people are trying and the seniors in the industry are doing their best, it is still a factor. There are people still who are getting affected by this, so you have to keep it in mind.
Very important con here is for the youngsters, especially when they are always on their phones, with their iPads, with their laptops. That part I think you will have to fight for. The reason being that at sea, though we have satellite communication today, we have the facilities, but they are very limited and restricted. Of course, there are a lot of reasons for that. One could be the cost factor, of course. It is restricted for other reasons as well. So the major factor is safety. Safety and security, of course. If we are preoccupied with these gadgets all the time, we will not be able to perform at sea. Our jobs are such that there is always a safety factor involved. If we are not fully alert or don't pay full attention to what we are doing, we can make mistakes which can affect your shipmates, your ship, commercially, otherwise.
So definitely keep in mind, if I don't post a video for a couple of months, it's not because I forgot about y'all or I quit making YouTube videos. It is because the internet was limited. Okay guys, so that's all you need to know in 2021 as far as I'm concerned. If you're looking at joining the merchant navy, it's not the easiest job in the world. It is a mindset that is required to do this job. 80% of the world's cargo is carried out by ships, so you need to remember somebody needs to do this job, and that somebody can be you. I hope you learned a little something about this mega industry today. I am extremely privileged to be a part of this industry. It does certainly feel fantastic to be a master's son because it's generation 2. I have seen the maritime industry as a passenger and as an officer, and hopefully as a master in the near future, and hopefully I can take you guys with me. So hit that subscribe button, definitely hit the bell notification so that you'll be notified about future seafarer, maritime, tech, travel videos which I normally make on this channel. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm Nitin Chawla. This is my dad. See you next time.
Signing off. All the very best.